Some of you may remember that last week we had a discussion on feedback and how no matter what type of medium you're working in, it's important to actually give people that kind of feedback because it has a very profound effect on everything they make moving forward, even if you don't think it does. Now, I didn't tell people I was going to do this, but just to put a capstone on that whole discussion, I actually made sure to pay very close attention, in particular, to every single comment that people decided to leave on that video. And surprise, surprise, I got a lot of great ideas. It made me look at my content, this content in particular, in a way that I hadn't considered before. In a lot of ways I hadn't considered before. It opened my eyes to some things I should probably be doing from here on out. And not only how to appeal to the people who are already here and what they like about this, but how to maybe bring some more people in the future and keep building on what's already good enough to grant me the audience that I have. So yeah, you guys really did leave an impact, so thumbs up to you. It's also interesting that we had that kind of discussion when we did, because without giving anything away, some really big and exciting things are happening at Team Pizza right now. I'm not going to say what any of them are because historically I have a really bad habit of talking about all of these crazy important things that take way too damn long to come to fruition, so hopefully I'll be able to go into more detail in the near future. But speaking of which, you may have already noticed one of the big ones, which has already happened already. That's right, I have finally cleared off my desk. Finally cleaned up the set a little bit. Now we don't have all of these random papers just kind of thrown wherever, detracting your eyes from what you should really be focusing on. Sherlock here. Keep doing what you do, buddy. You bring in the big bucks.
Why do certain genres just feel better on certain consoles, or when they're made by certain developers? I've heard that question a lot, and even mulled over it myself in the past, but I've never gotten anything resembling a satisfying answer. So today, I'm going to try to provide one, because this is a discussion that raises some interesting points about player psychology, marketing, and how to properly create a game that appeals to a wide audience. It's something a lot of companies seem to have trouble with. By far, the best example for this study is Nintendo and their incredibly strong association with platforming games. You may think it's obvious where the correlation comes from given the nature of their most popular character, but in that same vein, consider Sonic the Hedgehog. Almost nobody associates Sega with platformers today, but 20 years ago, that was their bread and butter. Brand recognition is something you gotta work for, and Nintendo works harder than just about anybody. They have a philosophy of creating games that are approachable, visually appealing, and most of all, fun. They go out of their way to make sure people see them as a bright and whimsical force in the industry, at least as far as their games go, because an image like that sends a very clear message to your audience. Their titles and characters are always bright, colorful, filled with personality, and are typically very easy to control, meaning they're designed from the ground up to be accessible. And doesn't that all sound like a certain type of game? One where you're bouncing around a challenge-ridden landscape trying to get from point A to point B? Platformers bring to mind bright colors, fun characters, tight controls, and it's historically one of the easiest types of games to understand. You jump. That's what you do. Whether Nintendo markets itself the way it does because of the way we interpret platformers, or we interpret platformers the way we do because of Nintendo, isn't 100% clear, but there's no denying that one eventually leads to thoughts of the other, to the point where it was a no-brainer when I was asked which system I'd like my copies of Half Genie Hero and Mighty No. 9 on. You see, while everyone else is trying to shift gears and reshape their ideas into something more mainstream, these guys paved that way long ago. If you want a game that anybody can pick up and play, this wishy-washy attitude of trying to convert something that was originally made with a totally different intention ain't gonna cut it. Mario is a character that appeals to a wide audience because that was the goal from the start. And considering the position the video game market was in when Super Mario Bros. Was being made, it's easy to see where this creative direction came from. Indeed, marketing towards a younger audience might have ended up being one of the company's smartest decisions, because games that are rated E for everyone have a natural advantage in being accessible. Wait, you mean a game that everybody can pick up and play has an easier time getting the market to actually do just that? Nah. That's just nah. All joking aside though, as long as we're talking about the mass market, let's analyze the two demographics that make up the largest portion of it: children and adults. What separates a younger gamer from an older gamer is money and time. Everyone's situation is different, but in the majority of cases, kids have plenty of time but no money, so they have to rely on their parents to provide the entertainment they crave. So when a parent is looking over what's available for their child, they're likely going to gravitate to something that looks cartoony, harmless, and generally approachable. In that sense, kids aren't a totally reliable market by themselves, because the decision on what games they play is largely out of their hands. But the thing is, those kids eventually grow up, and now that they are grown up, they face the opposite problem they did before. They have their own money, but little to no time. What they also have are very fond memories of games they played when they were younger, and when they see that the company responsible is still capable of producing experiences that bring them right back to that happy place, you have created a lifelong fan. We think of Nintendo when we think of platformers because it's a connection we've been trained to make for most of our lives. Even now that most of us are in the second stage of that relationship, the Big N isn't content just making more platformers. They're constantly striving to make the best platformers, because that rewards those people who keep coming back. They evolve from simply playing for the sake of fun to specializing how they like to enjoy themselves. Do you like beating the game as quickly as you can, maxing out your life counter, or unlocking and beating every stage? And do you like it when you poke around a corner you never noticed before and you're rewarded with a secret? These are all things Nintendo has got you covered on, and the best part is they're completely natural and unobtrusive design elements, enriching the experience for everyone without making anybody feel like they'll miss out for playing the way they like. These are the kinds of games you can grow up with and have a different experience for every year that passes. This is the crux of the company's entire business model, and it's led to some of the most beloved games ever made. So with all that going for them, is it any wonder we think of Nintendo when we think of these kinds of games? Probably not.
You know what, buddy? If everything else around here is getting an upgrade, you need one too. How about, yeah, there we go, that's good. Now you're ready for the big leagues. In fact, hang on, what if we did magnify the awesomeness, and maybe give you a smoking pipe too to carry around, an important pen to take notes with because you're a detective. Hold on to that, buddy, you're gonna need that for something. Some important looking legal documents, pull up your brim so you can see everybody, all of the clues better, and you look like a Final Fantasy figurine. Maybe some things are better off left well enough alone.